You saw it here. Donald Trump pulled off the greatest comeback in political history and sealed him as the 47th president of the United States. There's never been a better time to join us as we fight the left and build the future. Join now at dailywire.com/subscribe with code TRUMP for 47% off. Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity and that the American dream starts with purpose. GCU equips you to serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. Change the world for good by putting others before yourself to glorify God. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With 350 academic programs as of June 2024, GCU meets you where you are, provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. Let's talk about your metabolism. You know, the thing that determines whether you're burning fat or just storing it. Well, now I'm not one for fad diets or miracle cures, but I am interested in real solutions that actually work, and that's why I want to tell you about Lumen. Lumen isn't some gimmicky weight loss scheme. It's a serious tool for understanding and improving your metabolic health. Let me tell you, in today's world of processed foods and sedentary lifestyles, we could all use a little help in that department. Here's how it works. You breathe into this device first thing in the morning, and it tells you if you're burning fat or carbs. It's that simple. But it doesn't stop there. Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for the day based on your measurements. You can even use it before and after workouts and meals to know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. Now, why does this matter? Because your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how you turn food into fuel, and when your metabolic health is optimal, you get a bunch of benefits: easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, even better sleep. Who doesn't want that? And for the ladies out there, Lumen even tracks your cycle and adjusts for menopause. It gives you recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through those hormonal shifts so you can keep your energy up, fight off those cravings, because apparently your hormones affect more than just your mood. Who knew? So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/Walsh to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/Walsh for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Donald Trump's decisive victory last night marked one of the greatest moments in American history. It was a moment that will be remembered and written about and discussed and studied literally centuries from now. It was truly a miraculous moment. And to call it miraculous is not to in any way dismiss all of the very real work that was done by so many people. It is to underscore the fact that God's hand can be felt and seen through all of this. It was a result that shows not only God's goodness, but his mercy. He is giving America another chance. That's the kind of history that was made. It was historic, not just because Trump pulled off a political comeback unlike anything ever seen before since this country's founding. And it's not just because he survived multiple assassination attempts, an unprecedented campaign of lawfare designed to keep him off the ballot and throw him in prison, although all of those things are certainly true. Trump's victory was historic because, as Trump himself said last night, it marked the day that Americans regained control of their country. Trump earned a clear and unmistakable mandate for the simple reason that after a decade of flagrant lies and manipulation from the corporate press, Americans have finally decided that they've had enough. Nobody believes the media anymore, or the national security experts, or the corrupt prosecutors in the DOJ, or places like Fulton County, Georgia. These con artists just don't have power anymore. They can't just cry racism and fascism and sexism and get what they want. They can't pretend to be offended about a comedian's joke about Puerto Rico or whatever and win over any voters because of that. They can't sell a vapid nobody like Kamala Harris as a serious presidential candidate. There are limits to what Americans are willing to tolerate. And that limit has clearly been exceeded by these people. The power of the legacy media to set the narrative, to control what people think and believe, has been utterly destroyed. I mean, they have been left powerless, ineffectual, feeble. They have been exposed as totally insular, just talking only to themselves. They are impotent. Trump has now effectively castrated the media, and as some of us have been warning for a long time, the procedure is irreversible, I think. So Trump's victory shows that We're living through the single greatest sea change in American politics since the invention of the television. The television ushered in the era of the reputable newsman who could supposedly be trusted to deliver the cold, hard facts in a dispassionate manner. So when the newsman told his audience that Richard Nixon was a crook, they just believed him. After all, why would the newsman lie about something like that? He had good sources in the intelligence agencies and so on. Well, that's all finally gone now. I mean, it is officially and finally gone. What little credibility the media had left was decimated for good, basically, in 2020 when they expended all of their capital pushing an endless stream of lies about COVID in order to damage Trump ahead of the election. That's why they implemented lockdowns, which weren't necessary. It's why they forced everyone to wear masks that didn't work. It's why they banned you on social media if you asked where COVID came from and why Tony Fauci's agency was funding that lab in Wuhan. And then after Joe Biden took office, they admitted that they were lying about everything. Yeah, the virus probably did come from that lab in China, they told us. No, lockdowns didn't do anything. Yes, the masks were useless, just as you suspected. And these liars thought that they had won because Biden took over and Trump wasn't in power anymore. They didn't think he'd ever be able to run again. But they were wrong. What they weren't counting on is that Trump and his supporters had no intention of forgetting the lies that they'd been told. And no amount of additional lies about January 6th or about 7-year-old business records cases in New York or about Russian collusion or classified documents in Mar-a-Lago or whatever were going to convince Americans otherwise. Once you destroy your reputation, it's gone. And the reputation of the media and the bureaucracy is gone. They just have no power anymore. The people who should have power, Americans have decided, are those who are honest, people who create things, people with talent, people with intelligence, innovators, pioneers, leaders. Americans have decided that Elon Musk, for example, should have a bigger role in how this country is run. Elon is a great man of history. And now he'll be teaming up with another great man of history, Donald Trump, in a partnership that has potential to change America for the better in immeasurable ways. That's what the voters decided in overwhelming numbers. They decided that Elon Musk should be rewarded for running a company that just caught a rocket booster in midair so that it could be reused. He should be rewarded for creating self-driving cars and restoring freedom of speech to social media. Like, Americans don't care that Elon isn't a half-black, gay, Asian, trans woman or whatever. They don't care that he doesn't check all the Democrats' DEI boxes. They care about merits. That's what they care about. And that's why Kamala was just roundly defeated yesterday. And it's why, if they're smart, Democrats will never run such a transparently phony and vapid and utterly useless candidate ever again. But there's good reason to believe that Democrats are not smart enough to learn that lesson. Hopefully they don't learn it. Hopefully they keep running candidates like Kamala. Indeed, let's hope they give Kamala herself another shot in 2028. I think she deserves it. Let her keep running. Nevertheless, she persisted, remember? Now, from the meltdowns on MSNBC last night, it's clear that the usual on-air race hustlers certainly aren't learning any lessons from this. They're still continuing with their spin long after it's clear that nobody buys it anymore. It's pathetic to watch, but it's also instructive. These are the last gasps of a form of propaganda that is now, as I said, totally impotent. And it was truly comical at points. Joy Reid, for example, praised Kamala for running a quote-unquote flawless campaign. Watch.
Woman president, let alone a woman of color. Mm-hmm. Let's just be clear. And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swifties, the Swifties.
Flawless. She had Taylor Swift. It was flawless. What else do you need? That's all it takes. A flawless campaign that got totally trounced, yet it's flawless. No flaws. No flaws in a campaign that led to this woman getting blown out. Amazing. And Kamala refused to speak to the most popular podcast host in the country. She barely did any interviews at all. She proposed massive new taxes on unrealized capital gains, along with price controls, promising effectively to destroy what was left of the American economy. She reversed pretty much every one of her policy positions from the past few years on everything from seizing firearms to eliminating private health insurance to banning fracking. Offered no explanation for any of this. But according to Joy Reid, these are all markers of a flawless candidate. Not one single flaw. So how did Kamala fall apart then? What happened to the campaign? Well, you probably know what Joy Reid's going to say. She explains that white women voted on the basis of race, meaning they didn't vote for Kamala because she's black. And watch.
You have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or a 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more, party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
Yep, it's all the fault of white people, women. Yeah, scapegoat. Just respond to this by denigrating, the vast majority of the American population. Great idea. That'll help you in the next elections. This is the degree of introspection that somebody like Joy Reid is capable of, and if we're being honest, it's why MSNBC is probably going to change a lot in the next 4 years. If it's able to continue to exist, it means it's going to have to change. Nobody takes this lazy, pitiful commentary seriously anymore. Just nobody takes it seriously. In response to a defeat of historic proportions, Democrats and MSNBC are now reduced to calling Democrat voters racist. That's where we are. Now, what's more likely is that, contrary to Democrats' expectations, most women are not obsessed with killing their own children. Now, that's the issue here. The whole pitch to women voters from Democrats was, hey, vote for us and so that you can kill your babies. Turns out that pitch is not good enough for the majority of women. Maybe it was a mistake to make every single advertisement into a demented lie about abortion when Americans are struggling to pay for groceries. Americans are thinking about how are they going to feed their children, not how can I kill my children. So could that be the problem? Could it be possible that Americans, including white women, are more worried about the cost of living than their ability to kill their own child? Could it be that the majority of parents are more concerned about caring for their children than killing them? That's something to think about. That might be an interesting conversation, but they can't have that conversation on MSNBC because it would contradict one of the many false narratives they concocted. It's the same story on CNN where Van Jones, as many people predicted, was on the verge of tears last night. This is a lot of fun. Let's watch.
I hear what you're saying, and I do see it differently because I'm thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite who are hurting tonight. There are African-American women who know a little bit about being talked down to and know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who tried to dream a big dream over the past couple of months. And tonight they're trading in a lot of hope for a lot of hurt. And they were hoping that maybe this time, one of their own could be seen as worthy. And once again, they're facing rejection. And that hurts. They thought tomorrow morning they're going to walk out with their shoulders back a little bit, maybe able to breathe for the first time and feel like they belong someplace. They did everything that they knew how to do. And it's going to be harder than it should be tomorrow for them to hold their heads up. And they're not the only people who are hurting tonight. If you're a parent of a trans kid, Your child's face was used as a springboard to power for somebody. That doesn't feel good. There are going to be people tomorrow, we're going to be handing clothes at the dry cleaners to people who don't have papers. There are going to be people who are going to be cleaning your teeth tomorrow who don't have papers. And they're terrified tonight.
He's not mad, he's disappointed. He's disappointed in all of you Americans, you voters. You didn't do what he want. You didn't do what Van Jones wants you to do. Van Jones made it very clear. Hey, listen, American people. Van Jones, did you not hear what Van Jones has been? Van Jones made it very clear what he wants you to do, and you didn't do it. And he's very disappointed. And think of all those black women who are wanted something and won't get it. They won't get what they wanted. That's a tragedy. Because they should get what they want all the time. You know, apparently black women were hoping to breathe for the first time. They haven't been breathing. That's the level of analysis you get from CNN. Somehow black women have made it this far in life without breathing. Haven't taken a breath. By the way, we had a Democrat administration for the past 4 years. Black women couldn't breathe during that whole time. That's how bad it was. So they've been holding their breath for a very long time. And if Kamala had won, they'd finally be able to inhale. But not now. You know, it's also melodramatic and phony. And that's before he starts talking about the parents of trans kids, which is a category of people that doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing as a trans kid, quote unquote, that there are kids who are confused about their gender. That is true. And as for those kids, nobody on the right used them as a springboard for anything. The overwhelming majority of Americans recognize that performing life-changing surgeries on children or giving them hormones that castrate and sterilize them is a grave moral evil. And that's been the case throughout all of human history until a few years ago when left-wing activists decided to start carving up the bodies of children. Kamala's never been able to defend this barbarism. She allowed her HHS secretary to promote it and to lower the age requirements for these surgeries. How is that good for children exactly? How is it good for the country as a whole? Democrats' preferred method of answering these questions is to not answer to them at all and to resort to the kind of emotional non-argument that Van Jones just delivered. Especially on the trans issue, as we talked about all throughout the campaign. They won't even make the case anymore. They're terrified of it. They're embarrassed of it. Which is why, the trans movement now is just dead. It is dead. The trans activists are still out there. They're gonna keep trying to do what they do, and so we're gonna have to stay vigilant. But it is dead. Donald Trump campaigned hard against the trans agenda. Actually, he campaigned. So it's one of the underrated aspects of this campaign. He campaigned hard against that issue specifically. The other side couldn't even make an argument, and Trump won decisively. And so the American people have made it very clear where they stand on this. Get the men out of women's sports. Leave the kids alone. We don't want any part of this. And that's it. And so these tactics, these emotional manipulation tactics, they don't work anymore. The majority of Americans no longer respond to it. The experts don't get to substitute their judgment for our common sense. That's gone on for too long. It's caused too much damage. Maybe the only honest moment on left-wing cable news last night came from MSNBC, where at one point they openly talked about how they expected that demographic change would help Democrats. And then one panelist reacted with surprise that demographic change actually wasn't actually working out for Democrats' benefit because brown people, as she described them, aren't voting for Democrats as expected. Watch.
The electorate, right? The assumption would be demographic change favors Democrats if it's becoming a browner state. There's a bigger Latino population, and we know from Paulo Ramos's amazing reporting on the ground in Texas, just because someone is brown, just because someone's Latino, does not necessarily make them an acolyte of the Democratic Party.
So MSNBC had to rely on some amazing reporting to learn that just because someone is brown, they won't necessarily vote for Democrats. Wow, that's a shocker. Apparently, people that have brown skin also have minds that they can use to think about the issues for themselves and come to their own conclusions. That's not a shock to most of us. no sane person has ever said otherwise. What people have said, and what MSNBC just admitted to, is that Democrats want to import as many foreign nationals as possible in order to secure more voters that, in aggregate, tend to vote Democrat. That's their stated objective, and it's either a conspiracy theory or something they're happy to admit is real, depending on what day of the week it is. The problem for Democrats is that not all brown people, quote unquote, as MSNBC calls them, think precisely the same way. Again, they have minds, right? And some of them care about things like lowering inflation, securing the border, stopping a DEI candidate like Kamala Harris from destroying the economy and the country. Some brown people don't like the endless wars that Liz Cheney would usher in. And Democrats have no answers whatsoever to these voters. They genuinely can't understand that despite their skin color, they're not all voting for Kamala. In fact, huge numbers voted for her opponent. It turns out that all people of all races, what they really want out of their leaders, they want leaders who will work to make their lives better and their community safer and their country more prosperous. That's what everybody wants. That's the pitch that Trump makes. We don't have to, it's not some great mystery about why Trump is so popular and why he just won in such dominating fashion. Yes, he's an extremely talented politician, once in a lifetime kind of political talent. All of that is true. But also, like, fundamentally, the pitch that he's making to voters is very simple, very straightforward, and it just appeals to people. He's saying, look, here are the problems in your life, in your community, and here's what I want to do to solve them. Here's what I want to do to make this country a better place to live for your family. That's what people care about. The Democrats had no plan to achieve that. Didn't even pretend to have a plan. Couldn't bring themselves to even pretend to care about the well-being of your family and your community. And so they lost. And now they're humiliated and devastated and left in ruins, and they richly deserve this disgrace. Nobody has ever deserved it more. I'm so happy that it's happened to them. If Democrats want to continue to exist as a party, they're going to need to make some fundamental changes that they might not be capable of actually making at this point. They're going to have to stop reducing candidates and voters and everybody to their skin color and their demographic group. They're going to have to start seeing individual people, as human beings. And that means, among other things, they need to stop demonizing white people. It also means that they need to abandon their support for DEI. It's an ideology that destroys everything it touches on both the right and the left. Kamala Harris was Joe Biden's DEI pick, and she just led the party to a crushing disaster in a national election. Which, by the way, as others have pointed out, if Joe Biden had just remained the candidate, he still would have lost, but it would not have been this bad. That's the hilarious thing about all of this. And I'm sure Joe Biden is probably happier than we are. Biden's probably the happiest guy in America right now. There couldn't be a clearer sign that Democrats' race obsession, which began in earnest with Obama in 2008, is a political dead end. It's over. Doesn't work anymore. And no matter how much Barack Obama wags his fingers at black people, it's not going to change. In fact, the left's entire project has been repudiated. Americans have rejected all of it, in huge, mind-boggling numbers. DEI, the trans agenda, abortion extremism, open borders, defunding the police, all of that rejected, all of it, roundly, loudly, decisively defeated. The entire leftist program, it left in shambles. Kamala Harris ran on basically three things, and three things only. Her entire platform consisted of just three planks, right? One, that Trump is a Nazi. That was plank number one. Two, that killing babies is the most important human right. And three, and this is related to two, that men are bad and women need to exact revenge on men and on the patriarchy, right? That was essentially the whole campaign. That was the pitch. There was no other pitch. That was it. She had no other case to make. Well, the problem is that nobody believed that Trump is a Nazi. The people making the claim that he's a Nazi believed it least of all. It was a narrative that could only work if everybody forgot that Trump was already president. Now, our memories might be short, in modern society, but they aren't that short. So that plank collapsed right away. That plank was, that was too thin a plank to stand on to begin with, and so that collapsed. Now, the second plank may have seemed more sturdy at first. The baby killing plank, that is. And lots of people on the right, were worried that backlash against Roe really would lead to a massive Democrat victory. This is something that many people, even conservatives, were very worried about. Now, that if you watch this show, that I didn't think that would happen. That all this worry that the overturning of Roe is just a political disaster for Republicans. I never thought that was true. I never bought that for a second. And turns out, that those of us who didn't buy into that, we were right. Because the average American may not be as pro-life as I would like them to be. We'll have to do work to get them there. But the average American certainly is not nearly as callous and bloodthirsty and utterly devoid of basic human decency as they would need to be for the Democrat pitch on abortion to work. Like, we can make the argument, the pro-life argument, and people can be persuaded by it. It is a winning argument that we want to protect and cherish human life, especially our children. That's a winning argument. Of course it's a winning argument. So that plank collapsed. And all that was left was the final plank. Misandry, hatred of men. Bitter feminist screeching is the third plank. Could Kamala stir up enough anti-man resentment to ride that wave to the White House? And the answer was a resounding no. Most women do not hate men. Most don't. The women on MSNBC do. The women who are elected Democrats in national office, they do. Most women don't. In fact, most women love men. Most women marry men. Most women have fathers and brothers that they love. So that plank also rotted away. And the whole floor gave out, and Kamala went tumbling through it. And it was a glorious sight to behold. So what's next? Well, many things, many improvements, many of them practical and hopefully immediate. Things that are going to have to be, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about this in the days ahead, but Trump now has the mandate and the ability to enact his agenda, and it's going to have to be, that agenda will have to be pursued relentlessly and ruthlessly. As soon as he's in office, you got to start stacking wins right away. Don't even wait a day. The era of unchecked government expansion and bureaucratic overreach is hopefully over. Endless spending that caused inflation and weakened the value of the dollar, hopefully reined in. Needless regulations that have stifled innovation, gutted. Hyper-partisan lawfare that's discredited the judicial system comes to an end. Federal agencies won't demand the censorship of American citizens on social media for expressing unpopular opinions. In short, the government get out of the way of American progress. The true realignment we're seeing, the one that will make all of this progress possible, it's not really about demographics. It's a realignment of Americans against the so-called expert class and the corporate media outlets who have lied to them relentlessly for so long. Instead of relying on centralized news sources for information, people are now doing what Kamala Harris is incapable of doing. They're thinking for themselves. They're coming to their own conclusions, even if it makes them a bigot or a transphobe or a Nazi in the eyes of some huffy CNN personality. And last night we learned what those conclusions are. The Americans made it clear that they don't want to reward mediocrity and deception. They don't want to empower the worst elements of the vast government bureaucracy who installed a clearly incompetent candidate without any democratic process whatsoever. They want to reward builders and innovators instead. And as a result, very soon, for the first time in many years, those builders and innovators can finally get to work. And there is so much work to do. Now we can finally do it. Thank God. You know what I do to make the office more festive during the holidays? Nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. I refuse to participate in ugly sweater days, and the only treat that I give my team is the gift of truth. But you know what actually does make the holidays better? Not having to deal with the post office. That's where Stamps.com comes in. The holidays are hectic enough without wasting time in line shipping your marketing materials, documents, or products. With Stamps.com, you can print postage online and focus on getting your business through this busy season. From small businesses to large organizations, Stamps.com handles all your mailing and shipping needs wherever and whenever they occur. You can access every USPS and UPS service right from your computer or phone, anytime, day or night. No lines, no traffic, no waiting. All you need is a computer and printer. They'll even send you a free scale. You can automatically see your cheapest and fastest shipping options. You get rates you can't find anywhere else, up to 89% off USPS and UPS. More holiday, less hustle, free up more time with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com and enter code Walsh for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. That's Stamps.com, code Walsh. You may have heard last night history was made. Donald Trump pulled off the greatest political comeback ever, becoming the 47th president of the United States. We told you we'd cover the election from start to finish, and we delivered. But more importantly, you delivered by showing up to vote. You made your voice heard and made this victory possible. Of course, we have big battles ahead, but we've proven time and time again, when we fight, we win. If you're not a member yet, now's the time to join. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe and use code Trump for 47% off. That's right, 47% off for the 47th president. Don't miss out. Join us at dailywire.com/subscribe with code Trump. All right, so today is not going to be a normal show. There will be no 5 headlines because there's really only one headline today. One of the greatest headlines in American history that we just opened the show with. And there will be no daily cancellation because for the first time in the history of the Matt Walsh Show, I'm in too good of a mood to cancel anybody. Besides, the great cancellation happened last night. I couldn't hope to top it. So instead, what I'd like to do is close out the show by sifting through some of the more hysterical reactions from the left. We played a bit of MSNBC at the top of the show, but the meltdowns get even more glorious. And I think it's important to highlight some of these because they're hilarious. And I mean, that's really the whole reason. That's the only reason to do it. And I just feel like it feels like my duty on a day such as today. But before we begin, I do want to make it very clear that I am not a cruel person. I am very empathetic. Now, yes, I'm going to be delighting in the pain and suffering of my political opponents. Yes, I do take great pleasure in their misery, but I also care about them. And that's why I made sure that we continued to play the trailer for my film, Am I Racist, on MSNBC's airwaves this morning. It was a very difficult time for MSNBC's viewers, and I realized that, and so I figured that I'd cheer them up by showing them my trailer. Watch.
We've officially entered into the fever dream portion.
The Daily Show on Comedy Central in Watch Next Day on Paramount Plus.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race.
What's happening in this country, it's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis.
I'm going to sort this out. I need to go deeper undercover.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. So what's up with white people? What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that?
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you.
Am I Racist? Now streaming only on DailyWire Plus.
I mainly just wanted you to see the trailer with the MSNBC banner around it, which is just fantastic. Now, listen, I don't expect anyone to thank me or praise me for my abundant mercy and compassion, but they should. We are running that ad on MSNBC, even though we know that not a single one of their viewers will actually subscribe to watch the film. Not a single one. I mean, we've been, and I am willing to take a financial loss, or at least I'm willing for the Daily Wire to take a financial loss I'm not paying a dime. But I am willing for this company to lose money just to get that trailer in front of their faces this morning when they're already devastated and hurting. And I'll lose as much of this company's money as is necessary to annoy as many of MSNBC's viewers as we can. That's my solemn promise to you. And it's an act of charity, really. Anyway, now that I've proven that I'm a compassionate and kind person, let's get on with delighting in the misfortune of others. We'll begin with this brief compilation of women on TikTok crying. Now, Donald Trump, we know, is now 2-0 against female presidential candidates, which is just, oh man. He has prevented a woman from becoming president twice. And that fact is just too much for the women of TikTok. They cannot cope with it, and they're very upset. And don't laugh at any of this. This is not about laughing. It's just, anyway, here it is.
Somebody please let me know when the blue starts to shift. When does the blue start to shift? Somebody let me know when the blue starts to shift, please. Somebody please let me know.
When did it end? All the enjoyment. I'm sad and I'll be in denial for at least
I think we get the point. It's not funny. Don't laugh about that. These people are hurting. They're hurting. Don't you dare laugh. I do want to especially highlight, so those were good, but I want to especially highlight this particular TikTok meltdown. Here it is.
We may not have rights tomorrow, so I'm going to bed with the last bit of dignity that I have left. But we fought a good fight, and if it turns out that, shit flips, great, hell yeah, but right now I'm just not. I can't deal with this right now.
She says she's going to bed with the last of the dignity she has left. And I just want to say this. You didn't have any dignity left anyway. So that's the good news. You can't lose any of your dignity if you don't have it. So cheer up. Look on the bright side. Speaking of having no dignity, there's also this one.
Y'all want to violate my stuff? I don't give a fuck about none of that, because all the people that's violating my freaking life right now are Trump supporters. Y'all are the only ones happy about this shit right now. Y'all the only ones. Y'all see I got my blue on. I'd have cried so much that my blue went up. And I have to wear red because this is my freaking job. If I didn't have to wear this stupid ass color, I wouldn't be wearing it. Trust and believe me. Trust and believe me. I hate red so much in my life. Right now, I don't even know what to do. I've never hated red so much in my life until now. I hate red. Hate the fact that I have to wear this color today. I really do. Because I don't represent Trump at all. Go Trump? Honey, you gonna say, we'll see if you still scream go Trump in the next few months. Let's see. We'll see. All y'all say go Trump, we'll see if y'all still screaming that. We'll see. Because I bet you won't. Because that man about to walk up in that White House. And he about to tear up. He about to tear up.
Well, we can only hope. We can only hope that he tears up. That's literally what we elected him to do. That is, it's in the exit polling data. That's what, when they stopped the exit, when the pollsters stopped people coming out of the, what was most important to you? And I think the last exit poll I saw was 87% of voters said, most important thing is we get someone who's going to tear up. So that's the whole point. But if that reaction wasn't unhinged enough, then there's also this one.
Yo, I'm scared to go to sleep. I might wake up Slay.
on Disney Plus.
Y'all, like, why are y'all Trump supporters? Like, why?
This is a fraud.
Why are y'all Trump supporters? Like, why is this a thing right now? Why is this okay? I can't do this no more. I should have kept my vote to myself because I knew it didn't matter. I knew it didn't.
So she's worried she's going to wake up a slave tomorrow. Makes sense. You know, as everyone knows, Trump ran on reinstating slavery. It was one of his core campaign promises. You know, at least if you have the mental computing software for leftists, that's apparently what you hear when Trump says that he's going to lower taxes and create more manufacturing jobs in America. Meanwhile, the actress Christina Applegate is having a tough time. Her entire Twitter page right now is full of unhinged ramblings and worth reading. But there's also this one I like. She says, "Why? Give me your reasons why. My child is sobbing because her rights as a woman may be taken away. Why? And if you disagree, please unfollow me." Now, my favorite thing about this tweet is that she begins by asking Trump voters to explain why they voted for him, but she ends by telling them to shut up and go away. Explain why you did this. Shut up, leave. Now, which is it? You can't really do both. And in between, she tells us that her child is traumatized because her rights are going to be taken away, and her child may well be traumatized. I mean, and I'm sorry if she is, but Christina Applegate is the one who traumatized her. I'd be traumatized too as a child if my mom was hysterically screaming that the world's coming to an end and all of our rights will disappear. Now, so far, we've only reveled in the manic rage and despair of female Kamala supporters, but plenty of men are melting down too. We'll get to those in a minute. First, here's one more from a woman.
So the election between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris has not been called yet. We do not know who the winner is, but it is pointing in one direction. And it's not final, but I just wanted to say that America failed women tonight, primarily. Trump has insulted women, berated them, has been found liable in court for assaulting a woman, and he took women's reproductive rights away. And instead of standing up to that, people voted for it. And we failed our daughters, our mothers, our sisters, our wives tonight. America failed them. We failed them. It is unfortunately the reality of the situation. So I'm sorry to everybody out there who will be impacted by what may come.
America failed women, he says. Failed them. Of course, a whole lot of women also voted for Trump, but they failed themselves. You know what? You failed yourselves, women. Americans failed women by showing that they also recognize the humanity of babies. And in this person's world, it's one or the other. You know, America had to choose babies or women. And Harry is deeply disappointed that we chose babies. Even though to people who are not morally insane, that choice doesn't exist because we can care about both women and babies at the same time. And we did. That's why we voted for Trump. Mike Wise is a sports commentator, apparently, and he agrees with Harry. He tweeted, quote, "It's not just that Trump won. It's that Joe Rogan, Dana White, and Brett Favre won. Jailed insurrectionists won. The Alitos and the Thomases won. Vladimir Putin won. Racism won. Misogyny won. Sexism won. Global warming won. Xenophobia won. Most of all, fear won. That's what hurts." Now, there are about a million other tweets that we could read, all with this same tone and message. Who are the real villains in this story? Who is to blame for the loss? The American people. The people are the villains. They chose racism and misogyny and global warming. How quickly the left went from being valiant defenders of the democratic system to scapegoating it when things don't go their way, which is the most predictable twist ending in the history of twist endings. Now, I think we've probably seen enough, but I do have to play just one more, just one more. And you know, I know that many of you You look back to 2016 and you remember fondly that iconic moment of the Hillary voter falling to her knees and screaming into the sky. And you may be worried that we haven't seen anything that quite matches that yet. Well, don't worry, because I think this comes close.
I'm sorry. No! Why? Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
Just wonderful. Now, look. Listen. Yes, it lacks the spontaneity and authenticity of the 2016 version. This woman had to set up her camera and scream hysterically, stop recording. So she had to decide, okay, I'm going to scream hysterically now. Take out her phone, set it up, scream, stop recording, edit it down, post it. She had to do all that. She probably watched that video back 10 or 15 times before she posted it. She probably did multiple takes. If you were to check her camera roll right now, I guarantee there are like 30 of those videos where she's going for just the right, she had to repeat that 30 times. And you might say that makes the mental breakdown less enjoyable for the rest of us. But I tend to disagree. I for one, appreciate the effort that she's putting into it. It's the thought that counts. Now, let me just say one more thing before we close out. And we've had our fun with these videos. We've sipped from the chalice of leftist suffering. We've satiated our thirst with the sweet nectar of liberal tears. But I do want to get serious for just one moment and offer a word of encouragement to these people. It may seem funny to us, but they are truly worried that Donald Trump will be an evil dictator. And I think it'd be irresponsible and frankly pretty cruel of me if I didn't take a second to reassure them on that point. So, in all seriousness, all jokes aside, no, Donald Trump is not going to be an evil dictator. He's going to be a good dictator. So don't worry. Yes, Trump is going to be dictator for life. When he dies, his throne will be passed down to Baron Trump, and the Trump dynasty shall reign for 1,000 years. But it's all for your own good. Is Trump going to take away all of your rights? Absolutely not. Not all of them. You'll still have the right to agree with Trump and praise him always. Is Trump going to take away voting rights from women? Again, no. Women will have the right to vote for whoever their husbands tell them to vote for, which will always be Trump. Will Trump intentionally spray more CO2 into the air to cause more global warming, melt the ice caps intentionally, raise global temperatures to tropical levels? Yes, obviously. It's only the coastal states that voted against him in this election, and so now they must be drowned to pay for their sins. The rest of us get to enjoy warm summer weather all year round, so it's basically a win-win. So in that way, all of your fears are valid. And this was all laid out in Project 2025, like you said. It was all there. It's like on page 1. But it won't be as bad as you think. Trust me, in a few months, you won't be complaining anymore. Because you won't be allowed to. And I hope that makes you feel better. So, and we can end the show there on that note, a note of unity. And that'll do it for the show today. A great day for all Americans, except those, but for everybody else. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Godspeed.
John Bickley here, Daily Wire editor-in-chief. Wake up every morning with our show, Morning Wire, where we bring you all the news that you need to know in 15 minutes or less. Join me and my co-host Georgia Howe for daily coverage of all the biggest stories on Morning Wire.